The European Union's AI Act is a huge piece of legislation, but at its very core, it's all about building trust, especially when it comes to high-risk artificial intelligence. Today, we're zooming in on one of the most critical parts of that puzzle, Article 83. Think of it as the enforcement engine that takes all those legal ideas and makes them a reality in the market.
Now, this analysis was conducted under the scientific oversight of Professor Vihar Kiskinov, Doctor of Legal Science. And it's so important because Article 83 is what establishes the ground rules for accountability. It's the playbook, really, that makes sure any high-risk AI system you see on the market has actually passed some fundamental safety and transparency checks. It's the very bedrock of a trustworthy AI ecosystem.
So to really get a grip on this, here's our map for today. First, we'll look at the rules themselves, the checklist. Then, what happens when those rules get broken? We'll see it all in action with a real-world scenario. Then we'll see how the Act fits into the bigger regulatory picture. And finally, we'll talk about why this is all so important for the future of AI. Okay, so before we can even begin to talk about enforcement, we have to know what rules we're talking about, what can actually be broken. This first part lays out the absolute must-haves that every single provider of a high-risk AI system has to meet before their product even thinks about hitting the market. The key idea we need to understand here is formal non-compliance. And what's so interesting is that this doesn't necessarily mean the AI has gone rogue or caused any harm. Nope. It's about a failure in the paperwork, the procedures, all those essential administrative steps that are designed to guarantee transparency and accountability right from the start. So here are the specific violations that Article 83 is looking for. You can think of it like a non-negotiable checklist. For instance, is the CE marking there, and is it correct? That little symbol is a huge deal. It's the provider's way of saying their product meets all of the EU's health and safety standards. What about the EU Declaration of Compliance? This isn't just another form. It's a legal document where the provider puts their name on the line, taking full responsibility for the AI's compliance. If the system isn't registered or the tech documents aren't available, well, a no to any of these means you're in a state of formal non-compliance. All right, so let's say a market surveillance authority, that's the national team in charge of checking products, finds one of these issues. What happens next? Well, they don't just bring down the hammer immediately. Instead, there's a really clear two-step process that's all about giving a chance to fix the problem before bringing down penalties. Step 1 is a chance to make things right. The provider gets a formal request to correct the problem within a certain amount of time. It's basically a get your house in order notice. But, and this is a big but, if they don't act, that's when things escalate. The authorities can then take some really serious measures, anything from restricting how the AI can be used to pulling it from the market entirely. The message here is crystal clear. These rules are not optional. They are the gatekeepers.
The theory is all well and good, but, how does this actually play out in the real world? Let's walk through a little scenario to see how these rules get applied when a specific AI system starts causing concern.
Let's imagine a brand new AI security system called X-ray Vision. It's being rolled out in stadiums, concert venues, you name it. It promises to spot threats like no other. But it doesn't take long for people to start worrying about privacy and the potential for discrimination. And this is often how it starts. An investigation rarely begins in a vacuum. It might be kicked off by user complaints, maybe a whistleblower report, or, just like in our case, by a lot of media attention that raises some serious red flags for the authorities.
So you've got public pressure mounting, you have credible concerns being reported. What's the next move for the authorities? Well, their very first step would be to dig into the provider's formal compliance. Did they check all the boxes? And right away, this is where the real-world challenges pop up. If the company behind X-ray Vision is based outside the EU, just getting a hold of the technical documents can be a struggle. Then, you have to verify that all this complex info is actually accurate, which requires some serious technical know-how. And the big one, how on earth do you properly assess an AI that is constantly learning and changing? It really shows you what a massive challenge this is for regulators who are trying to keep up with the pace of technology.
Now, it's so important to understand that the AI Act and Article 83 aren't just floating out there on their own. They're a key piece of a much, much bigger puzzle, the EU's whole strategy for governing our digital world. See, the AI Act is designed to work hand in glove with other major regulations. It connects directly with the GDPR on data protection, with the Digital Services Act, the DSA on how platforms are governed, with the Digital Markets Act or DMA on fair competition, and with the Cybersecurity Act on security. Together, they create this cohesive regulatory net, making sure our fundamental rights and our safety are protected from all angles. Okay, so we've looked at the rules, we've seen the enforcement, we understand the context. But let's get to the big question. Why should we care so much about what looks like a bunch of bureaucratic box ticking? The answer is simple, because these formal rules are the absolute foundation of trust. Think about it. Without these formal requirements, transparency is just a buzzword. Without transparency, there can be no real accountability. And without accountability, there's just no way to build public trust in these incredibly powerful, high-risk AI systems. Article 83 is what makes sure that before a powerful AI is set loose in our society, these fundamental checks and balances are locked in place.
And that leaves us with one final, really important question to think about. Is getting this procedural rulebook perfect the end goal? Or is making sure everyone is formally compliant just the first absolutely essential step on a much longer road toward creating AI that isn't just compliant, but is genuinely ethical, fair, and truly worthy of our trust?